Okay. So first thing is, what are the disadvantages of using k-means? These things I have already shared with you. I have already discussed that what are the disadvantages of k-means. Like one of the major disadvantage of k-means algorithm is that we need to mention that what is the value of k. Okay, that means at the beginning of that algorithm, we need to mention that how many clusters we have to create. So that is the biggest disadvantage. Okay, but in case of hierarchical clustering, we don't need to mention that. I'll tell you that how to find out that value, that how many clusters we have to create, but the user doesn't need to mention at the beginning only that how many clusters we have to create. And other disadvantage is that k-means algorithm is always try to make clusters of same size. Okay, like there are different types of like scatter plot. I will show you that for some data points you can't use the k-means clustering, but for other one you can use. Okay, so there are some distribution of data points for which we can't use the k-means clustering. For that, either we need to use a hierarchical one or the density based clustering. Like this one, I think I had already shared the while doing the disadvantages, that which type of data points, if distribution of data points, we can't use this k-means. Okay, so in order to solve these problems, we have first hierarchical, and then we will be doing the db scan algorithm. Okay, so again, obviously this is clustering algorithm. This will come under unsupervised. Okay, and again unlabeled data set would be given to you because this is clustering algorithm. Fine. Okay, now here, why the name hierarchical is given? Because we will delve some hierarchy of clusters. Okay, that would be in the form of a tree. Like whenever you are having something in the form of a tree, you say that is hierarchical. Okay, so here also we will represent all the clusters in the form of a tree, and that tree structure is actually called the dendrogram. Okay, so I will take this later on. So first thing is that there are two approaches in this hierarchical clustering. One is agglomerative and another one is divisive. Okay. In case of agglomerative, suppose you have been given these data points. Okay. First of all, we will assume that all these data points are different clusters. Like here, I'm taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm taking 6 data points. So first of all, I will assume that all these are representing your different clusters. That means there are 7 clusters. Okay. Then we will find out the distances between each pair of cluster. Like I will find out what is the distance between these two, like this way. Between every pair of clusters, we will find out the Euclidean distance. Okay. Now suppose these two clusters are having they are very near to each other. That means their distance is very less. Then I will combine them in one cluster. And suppose these two are close to each other, I will combine them in one cluster. Okay. Next, this will be assumed as your one cluster. This is being assumed as another second cluster. This is third, this is fourth, this is fifth. And again, the same thing is being repeated. That means again, I will find out the distances between all these clusters. Okay. Next, suppose you are saying that these two clusters are near to each other, so I will combine this. Next, you may say that these two are near to each other, I will combine them. Okay, so this way I will be doing until I'm getting one cluster. Okay, so first of all, here I had assumed that each data point is a different cluster, and then we are finding the distances, and depending on the shortest distance, we are combining the clusters into one cluster. So these steps are being repeated until we are getting one cluster. Okay, then using this tree type structure, we will find out, I will tell you later on that how to create that tree structure and how to find out the optimal number of clusters that you have to take. Okay, so that thing is there, but the main important thing is that this is your bottom up approach. Now, why this is called bottom up? Because here I was assuming initially that each data point is a different cluster, and then I'm combining them. Okay, so it would be considered as bottom up because I'm starting with one cluster and then I'm combining and moving in the upward direction, like you can see, until I'm getting one cluster. Okay. So agglomerative is a bottom-up approach in which algorithm starts with taking all the data points as single clusters and merging them until one cluster is left. Is it okay? I'll take one example of this. Then is divisive method. In this algorithm, that is just the reverse of agglomerative. So here we will assume that whenever data points are given to you, we will assume that all the data points are in one cluster, and then we will split that. Okay, so I'm assuming this is one cluster. Okay, then I will split that, suppose into two clusters. Then again, these clusters are being splitted. Okay, so this is called your top-down approach. Okay, so this is just the reverse of your agglomerative. Fine. So this is the basic, like over here, so that you can get the idea what is hierarchical clustering. So under hierarchical, I will be taking only this one, agglomerative. Okay, that is a bottom-up approach. I'll tell you that how to do clustering with the help of this agglomerative. Okay, so this thing I have already told you that it follows the bottom-up approach to group the data set into clusters. It means this algorithm considers each data set as a single cluster at the beginning, and then it will start combining the closest pair of clusters. Okay, how will you find out the closest pair? We will find out the Euclidean distance between every pair of data points. And depending upon the shortest distance, we will find out which one is the closest pair. Fine. And it does this until all the clusters are merged into single cluster that contains all the data set. Fine. And these clusters are represented in the form of the dendrogram that I will take later on. So algorithm I will discuss later on. First, I'm taking this example. So in case of agglomerative hierarchical clustering, what is the first step? Okay, suppose you have been given these data points. There are 6 data points. So we'll assume that each data point is a single cluster. Okay, so if there are 6 data points, how many clusters are there? There are 6 clusters. So I'm assuming, suppose this is C1, this is C2, C3, 4, 5, and 6. So initially there are 6 clusters, fine? Now, next step is that you will find out the Euclidean distance between each pair of data point. That means I will find out what is the Euclidean distance between these two, like between these two, between these two. Okay, you have to take each and every pair and we will find out the Euclidean distance. Fine. And out of those distances, I will take the shortest one. Okay, suppose you are saying these 2 data points are having the shortest Euclidean distance. So what I will do, I will combine them into one cluster. Okay, so over here, take 2 closest data point of cluster and merge them to form one cluster. So initially, these 2 were 2 different clusters, C1 and suppose C2. But now, after finding the Euclidean distance between every pair of data point, we have found that these 2 data points are having the shortest Euclidean distance. That means they are very close to each other. So I can combine them into one. And you can say now this is one cluster. You can rename it. Suppose this is C1 now. This is C2. This one is C3, C4, and C5. Okay. So how many clusters are there now? There are 5 clusters. Initially, you were having 6. Now it is 5. Okay. So initially, if you were having n, now it will be n minus 1. Now again, repeat the same thing. Now this is one cluster. Again, we will find out the shortest distance between every pair of cluster. This is not now 2. This is to be considered as 1. So I will find out the distance between these 2, between these 2, between these one, then even between these two, okay? So every pair you have to take and find out the distances. Depending upon that, suppose you are getting these two were very close. These two were having the shortest distance. So you will combine them into one cluster. Right? Now, how many clusters are there? This is your one. This is your two. This is third one. This is the fourth one. So 4 clusters are there. Again, repeat the same thing. Okay. Now, when you are finding the distances, you will find out the distance between this and this is very less. So you will combine these 3 into 1. So I have combined these 3 into 1. Okay. Now, how many clusters are there? 1, 2, 3. Again, repeat the same procedure. Okay. And suppose we are finding that these 2 clusters are having the shortest distance. So I will combine these. Okay. So after combining these 3, now you are having 2 clusters. Fine. Now again find out the shortest distance, but they are only 2 clusters. We will find out the distance between them, or actually we don't need to find out the distance. When there are 2 clusters, we will combine them into 1. So this is your 1 cluster now. Okay. Okay. So till now, any doubt? So I think this was very easy. Till now, it was very easy that what we are doing. But the next step is what? Next step is that, so this is the last step. Once all the clusters are combined into one big cluster, we need to make one dendrogram. Okay, so what is that dendrogram? That I will tell you that how to create that dendrogram and how to find out the optimum number of clusters that you have to take. Okay, so any doubt so far? Yes, Rajpreet, 288. Rajpreet, you don't have any doubt? Okay. Now we will create the dendrogram for this example. Okay. So in order to create this dendrogram, it is like this. Okay. We need to create one tree type structure of this type. Okay. Along this axis, I'm taking all the clusters. Initially, like you can see, these are your data points along x-axis, and along y-axis, we are taking the Euclidean distance. This is representing your Euclidean distance between any pair of clusters. Okay. Like if you will go to the previous slide, it is written over here. In the dendrogram plot, the y-axis shows the Euclidean distances between data points, and you can say between data points or between clusters. Okay. And x-axis shows all the data points of given data set. Okay. So even when some example is coming, you need to create this dendrogram. Fine. So over here, I'm taking this example. Now in this example, I have written P1. So you can assume P1 was initially one data point, then P2 was there, next P3 is there, P4, all these are representing your data points, P5 and P6, okay? So how many data points are there? Initially, there were 6 data points, okay? So those data points are being represented on x-axis. Suppose this you are saying is P1, this is P2, this is P3, P4, P5, and P6, fine? Like at any distance, you can plot them, fine? Next, what we have done, like we need to find out what is the Euclidean distance between these data points, and we need to merge 2 data points that are close to each other. Suppose initially P2, P3, you are combining them, and you are combining P5 and P6. Okay. Suppose if P2 and P3, if you are combining, then what is the next step after writing these one, P1, P2, P3, you have to create this like you can say a rectangle. Okay, so what this rectangle is representing, it is representing that we are combining these two data points or these two clusters, because initially we are assuming there are 6 clusters, so I'm combining them. Okay, now what is the height of this? This height is representing the Euclidean distance between these data points. Suppose the Euclidean distance between these two data points was 5, so you have to make a rectangle of size suppose 5. Okay, so you need to make this rectangle. Similarly, you can combine then P5 and P6. So in order to combine them, P5 and P6, you will make this rectangle. You will make this rectangle. Okay, and suppose what is the Euclidean distance? Euclidean distance is around, suppose if 5 point something. So you can assume that the height of this rectangle is more as compared to this. Okay, it may be 6. Okay, Euclidean distance between them may be 6, so you need to make this rectangle. Is it okay? So initially I combined P2 and P3, then I combined P5 and P6. Is it clear till this? Okay, then next one. Next one, you can see from here what we have done. We have assumed this is now one cluster. That means you are assuming this is your one cluster now, and this is your suppose second cluster. Okay, what is the third cluster? This one that is being represented by suppose P1, and this one is different cluster P4. Okay, next again you will find out the Euclidean distance between each and every pair of these data points or these cluster, and you will select the closest clusters. Okay, now suppose the distance between P1 and this cluster, P1 and this cluster, P2, P3, you have to combine them now. That means now I'm combining this cluster and P1 cluster, and it is making now this cluster. Now how to combine them? Again, this is new step. So in this rectangle, you will find out on this horizontal line, you will find out what is a middle point. You will take a line from this middle point, right? So this line is being represented over here. So this is representing the cluster, this one, that is post C1 cluster. So in order to combine C1 and P1, you are taking the center of this rectangle, and then you are drawing one line over here from starting from P1. And what is the height of this? Again, height is being represented by the Euclidean distance. Suppose Euclidean distance between these two clusters is 9. So you will take that this is your 9, and you are making this rectangle type of figure. Okay. So next again, suppose which clusters you are combining. Suppose you are combining now P4 and the cluster that is being represented by P5, P6. So again, the same thing. You are taking one line that is starting from the center of this. So this is representing this cluster. Suppose this is your C3 and P4. Okay, so you are combining them. Is it okay? So after this step, you can see over here, when you combine this one and when you combine this one, how many clusters were there? 2 clusters. And here also, how can you find out from this dendrogram that how many clusters are there? You can see at this step, how many rectangles are there? 1, and this is 2. That means there are 2 clusters. Fine. Okay, next step is that you will combine these 2 clusters now. This one and this one. Okay, so for that, what you have to do, you will take the center of this cluster and center of this cluster. Again, you will find out the Euclidean distance, and that Euclidean distance is again represented by the height of this rectangle. Suppose it is coming out to be around 26 or 27. So you will make one rectangle sort of things, or you can say 2 lines you are drawing and then you are combining them. Okay, this is how to create this dendrogram. If it is cleared, I'll go further. Yes, beta, is it fine? Yes, anyone who can tell me? I'm waiting. Okay, Pavan. Because this thing was different over here. In case of like how to create the dendrogram, then how to find out the optimum number of clusters. So next step is again very interesting one, that how to find out the optimum number of clusters. Okay, so for that, first I will tell you from this example only. So what we have to do after creating these, like telling you that these are sort of rectangles. Okay, so after creating these rectangles, like what we have to do now, we have to draw some horizontal lines. Okay, but that horizontal line should not cut any of these red horizontal line. Okay, like over here, I can say one line I'm drawing, it is cutting these two red lines over here. 1 minute, let me change the color. It is cutting these two red lines over here. Then this line, it is cutting over here. Then I'm drawing one line over here. Okay, so this blue line will cut these four red lines, this one, this, and this one. So I'm drawing that line over here, and one line I can draw over here. Okay. Now, what is the optimum number of cluster? Out of these all lines, you need to find out which line is cutting these red lines that is having the longest, or the those are the highest one. Okay, that is having the highest Euclidean distance. Like over here, you can see that one line is this, one other line is this one, third is this, and this is this one. Okay, out of these lines, you can see that this line is cutting these two red lines, and the length of these red line is more as compared to these one and this one. Okay, so I will consider this one. Next, you need to find out how many red lines are being cut by this blue line. Now, how many red lines are being cut by this blue line? It is cutting two red lines, this and this one. Okay, then you can say the number of clusters that you have to take is 2. Optimum number of clusters that you have to take is 2. I'll take one more example, then I think it would be cleared more. This I will take later on. Okay, this one. You consider this dendrogram. Over here, initially there were many data points. They were combined like this, and this is representing the Euclidean distance. Okay, like over here, you can see all these things. Okay. Now, this is the other way to find out, like you can see. You can do one thing over here. You can draw a line, like here I'm drawing a line through this one, I'm saying. Then you can draw a line through, suppose, this one, but it should not cut any horizontal line, this one. And I'm drawing a line through this one. If you're confused, okay, you can go according to this figure. In this figure, what they have done, instead of drawing a line, they are making one rectangles. Okay, like one rectangle is over here, but that rectangle should not contain any horizontal line. Like I can't say this rectangle I'm having. Why? Because this rectangle will have these two horizontal lines. It should not cut any of these things. Okay, any of these lines. So one rectangle that I can make over here is this one. Other rectangle is this one, third one, and one rectangle is this one. And another one over here is very small rectangle is this one. Out of these rectangles, you need to find out which rectangle is having the maximum height. You can say the second one and the fourth rectangle, they are having almost the same height. Okay, so in this example, you can either choose 2 number of clusters or 4 number of clusters, but you can't take 3 numbers of clusters. Why? Because over here, the distance between them is very less. Here also the distance, the height of this rectangle is very less. So you can't take 1 and 3. You need to take either 2 or you can take 4. Okay. Other way is that you just draw the line that is cutting your vertical lines over here, then over here, and then one more over here. Okay, over here it is cutting how many these lines that you need to find out. Here it is cutting two red lines, one this,